Hello, everybody. Let me see if it's working. Is it working on my end? And it is. I see myself. Good. Sweet. Happy Friday, everybody. I have been really bad about like announcing when I'm going to go live and do like an educational. I think this week it was because I didn't know what I was going to talk about until like today. So here we are. We're doing another impromptu live, but you can catch the replay, of course, always afterwards. So if you're not able to hang out and stay with me for the entire time, that's fine. You can watch this later on. It'll stay in this group. And I'll probably also post it to YouTube. So that being said, today I wanted to come on and talk about what the best diet is. And I know some of you are probably like, oh my gosh, what is it? What is the answer going to be? And then some of you probably already kind of are like, she's tricking us. She's got a trick up her sleeve. But there's no tricks here. I'm just going to tell you what the best type of dieting is in the sense of how your body's going to respond to it. And so the first thing I want to talk about is how what is it that keeps us as humans jumping from diet to diet to diet to diet, right? And first of all, I'm going to pause because do you see how these like creepy paintings that Chris and I did keep popping up in the background? It's recognizing it as a face. Anyways, so why do we as humans keep jumping from diet to diet to diet to diet? Initially we'll start something and it seems to work and then it doesn't. And then we'll start something else and it seems to work and it doesn't. And we'll start another thing and it seems to work and then it doesn't. There's actually a lot of factors at play here. But one of the biggest things that does need to be talked about is that we as humans, we rely really heavily on dopamine. It is a neurotransmitter. Dopamine's a neurotransmitter and a hormone that is basically responsible for pleasure, satisfaction, and motivation in our lives. So anytime you guys have ever started a new diet, I know you know what I'm talking about. Like that motivation is up there. You're excited. You feel really good. You are seeing progress because you feel so you're like, oh, this is working. I feel it happening, right? That dopamine's high. But eventually, what happens with dopamine is we get used to that stimulus that was new to us and the dopamine drops. So then we find ourselves 2 weeks in, usually somewhere around 2 to 3 weeks in, not quite as excited or motivated as we was, and maybe not feeling like we're seeing as much progress as we were, right? And once that happens, what can happen is we look for the next dopamine hit because we're like, well, it was feeling really good and we were making progress. So now we're not really feeling that or seeing that anymore. So then we start to chase that next dopamine hit, and that might be pushing a little harder. Or for some people, it's they give up and then they go into another diet. So you guys have either all been there yourself or you know someone that literally jumps from diet to diet to diet to diet, trying everything. That is a huge red flag that you are relying on dopamine to get yourself progress. And dopamine is one of those hormones that we need. 100% we need it in our lives to survive. But if we rely on dopamine to always get things done, it's actually quite dangerous. And this is where a lot of addictions come from, right? Because we're relying on that high to get us to take action, to do things. And so, again, like the stimulus that once worked no longer works. We need more and we need more and we need more. It can kind of get us into like sticky situations down the road. And this is where a lot of people have a lot of trouble. So, remember, dopamine is something that gets people to go from diet to diet to diet. It's one of those like human tendencies we have. This can be in any area of your life, but it is really, really prevalent in diet and fitness, health and fitness. So when it comes to the best diet, again, any new diet is going to trigger dopamine. So we'll be excited and it'll become a perpetual state of excitement, wearing off, falling off, doing something new, excitement, wearing off, falling off. And oftentimes the things that trigger the most dopamine releases are going to be very dramatic and unsustainable approaches, very aggressive approaches, meaning that those diets may promise fast progress. You might even see fast progress initially. Those are usually going to be like low calorie diets, like extreme diets. Even I would even say using medications can be considered one of the aggressive approaches because it forces you into a low calorie diet. Trying like the carnivore diet or trying low carb for the first time, trying keto for the first time, trying Optavia, trying whatever, insert any diet you've ever tried. A lot of these approaches are very aggressive and maybe even restrictive. Like they may not be a way that you would typically eat in your normal everyday life. They force you to remove something from your diet or take dramatic measures. But because it's so new, it's such a novel stimulus to you. If you've never done it before, you're going to have dopamine, through the roof, and you're going to feel so good. And you're going to see progress because you're going to feel so motivated and excited. And then it wears off, right? The problem with the aggressive approaches outside of the dopamine part, because the dopamine is an important part of it, is when we push our bodies to the limits, when we push that rate of change to happen fast. And I see this all the time. I actually see this in current clients, not current clients who've been with us a while, they kind of understand, but people who are new to our coaching, or anyone who's even in this page, sometimes I'll see people will beat down on themselves for losing. They'll say, I lost 10 pounds this month, and I know that's not that much. And I'm like, hold up, that's actually a lot for a month, just so you know. So 10 pounds in a month is very fast, but they'll beat themselves up for not going faster and harder. And when we push the rate of change on our bodies are very adaptable. But if we push those limits, we are quite literally sending warning signals to our body, and an alarm system is going to start going off internally saying, whoa, 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 whoa. There is this major stimulus change going on here. We have very little calories coming in, but our body is burning this much energy. And we need to, it doesn't make sense for us to have this raging, happy metabolism. We need to do something about it, because the metabolism is what it drives our body. The metabolism is what keeps us going, keeps our energy where it needs to be. It keeps our hormones healthy. If our metabolism is nice and high, which it can be, if it's adapted up and we are taking good care of ourselves, we're going to feel pretty good. But if our metabolism is lower, we're going to not feel so great. And our metabolism does this. It's up, down, always changing like a thermostat. Okay. When we push the rate of change, we do an extreme diet or an unsustainable diet or something that is just trying to be rapid weight loss, we are quite literally sending signals to our metabolism and our body. Hey, something's happening here, and we need to conserve energy, because it doesn't make sense for us to use this much energy if we only have this little coming in. And when you push that change fast, that adaptation happens even faster. It's going to be a rapid adaptation. So unfortunately, as humans, in a traditional dieting cycle, what we've gotten used to and deeming as successful and working is the negative feelings that you'll get from extreme dieting. And those things look a lot like feeling really hungry all of the time, feeling low energy, having brain fog, maybe even low sex drive, might be feeling super weak in your lifts. Like, people equate that as, oh, it must be working because I'm feeling this way. And the scale's dropping, right? They're seeing those things happen concurrently. But what I'm here to tell you is, if your body is feeling that way, your body is screaming at you and yelling at you that we are not in a good place. And if we aren't careful, we're going to actually risk the consequences that come with pushing our bodies to the extreme. Now, in most circumstances, I would say that those who embark on extreme diets, they don't really make it into that point where they see super negative consequences. They may see some, absolutely, and then they don't know how to get themselves out of the hole. We see that all the time. I don't think everyone gets to that breaking point. I don't even want to say breaking, because you can't break your metabolism, but there is a point with which it's going to require a long time and many years for you to recover the damage of sorts that's been done to your metabolism in your body by pushing the limits. And this is seen often in, unfortunately, the bodybuilding scene and those who are stepping on stage. They push their bodies to the extreme, and it requires them months, if not years, to recover from that. And so when you are embarking on one of these extreme diets, you're either going to, one, fall off of it and just go way back into your old habits because you didn't really work on the things that got you to where you were. Instead, you try to push your body to an extreme and to lose weight fast because you wanted it gone quick, right? That's what felt good to you in the moment. And some of those big consequences I do want to talk about, because I think some people don't understand what the consequences of eating low calorie for long periods of time, or even just extremely low for short periods of time, can do for you. Everybody's body is different. How it responds to stress is different. Eating low calorie is a major stressor on the body, major. So if you are someone that doesn't handle stress well, and this isn't necessarily there's a lot involved in this. Some people just mentally can't handle stress well. Some people are a little more resilient to stress. Some people physically can't handle stress well. Some people physically can. Everybody's different. Each individual is different. But for those who cannot handle stress well and they push themselves to these extremes, they are often the ones that see these consequences very rapidly. And those things often look like hypothyroidism, driven by the stress from the dieting and everything else in life. Autoimmune disease, another one. And once, autoimmune disease comes around, that's one of those things that it lingers, right? It's might be something you have for life, and it can be cascade of events that happen from that autoimmune disease. You may have infertility issues, and this is another one that's really common. And I think society does us a disservice because we talk about dieting and losing weight so that you can be healthier, and that will help your fertility. Except that if your body is highly stressed because you've yo-yo dieted forever, and you've never spent enough time giving your body enough food, enough of the things it needs to feel safe, it is never going to recover those alarm bells. Those alarm bells are going to continue to go off. It's never going to feel safe to be able to be fertile, to ever be able to heal from the things that you ended up with because of these stressors on your body. So anyhow, infertility is actually a really common one from pushing the limits on calories. And I don't think this is so much a problem for men as it is for women. I think women forever have been taught to eat low calorie for a very long time, and that's how you see progress. I just wrote an email on this was this last week? No, it was this week. I'm like, was it already last week? No, it was this week. It was this week. I wrote an email on this and how eating low calorie is just, it's not realistic. If you guys didn't already know this, I think a lot of you know this. A toddler needs 1,200 plus calories a day to survive. A toddler. So someone who is 100 and I'm just going to say 130. I don't know the range of you guys in this group. 130 pounds and up. Why would you eat 1,200 calories a day, thinking that that's going to support your body and give you enough to function properly, hormonally, mentally, emotionally, physically? It's not enough. It's not enough calories. It's going to send you big alarm bells into your body, into your brain, into your metabolism to conserve energy, because we don't have enough to survive. I hate to call it survival mode because this is where this word was used and it just wasn't the appropriate terminology. People would say, I'm in survival mode. Yeah, but what survival mode is just that your metabolism has adapted to the stresses you've placed on it. That's all it is. You can recover from that. You absolutely can. It's going to take time. But you have to give it the time and the patience. So, okay. So this is the part that probably a lot of people don't want to hear is what then is the best diet approach when it comes to dieting? Well, if we don't want to be sending alarms like right away, anytime you diet, you're going to have adaptations. This is normal. It's going to happen. But if you don't want your body to adapt very quickly and you don't want to send those alarm bells ringing and blaring right away, the best diet is going to be a slow, sustainable one. And I'm not even going to tell you how it needs to be structured. You can do it in a carnivore way. You can do it low carb. You can do it keto. You can do it however you want to, but it still needs to be slow enough to where your body doesn't freak out and go, whoa, pump the brakes. There is something happening here, and we need to decrease the energy we are burning right now. We want our body to, I don't want to say trick it, but we kind of want to trick it or just make it feel safe enough to where it'll keep doing what it needs to do without major consequences happening. And it's actually not very hard to do that. It's just very boring. And this is where so many people get tripped up, because what do we rely on to be motivated and feel successful and happy and satisfied? Dopamine. We rely on dopamine way too heavily to feel those things. And so the slow, sustainable route becomes too mundane and too boring, and it's not working. But more than likely, if you actually stuck to it for a period of time, it is going to be worth it, right? Because you will see the progress over a period of time and you will feel better. And then you maybe will actually feel the motivation come from sticking to something that actually provided the progress to you long term. So many people, like I said, shame themselves for like 10 pounds a month. Oh, I should have did it faster. What in the world are you talking about? 10 pounds a month is so fast. And actually 50 pounds in a year is pretty darn fast. And some people will even shame themselves for like, I lost 50 pounds this year. What? That is actually a lot of weight to lose very quickly. The healthy, sustainable, non-alarm bell rate of fat loss is going to be 0.5 to 1 pound per week. That's only 4 pounds per month. So I know that sounds boring as shit. I know that's not exciting, and that's if you're dieting. That's when you're in a dieting phase. But that is the rate of loss that is going to not make your body go into freak out mode and start conserving really quickly. It's going to prevent you from plateauing very, very quickly because it gets your body to a place where it's like, doesn't really know what's happening just yet. It takes it time to figure it out. So if I were to give you one piece of big advice today, it is going to be embrace the slow, sustainable route. Who cares? What if you lose your 50 pounds in 4 months, but you absolutely end up trashed in your mental health, your emotional health, because it was so much stress on your body and life just went to shambles and you went in back to old habits and you regained, let's say you only even regain 30 of those pounds. Now you're 20 pounds down, but you gain 30 pounds after losing 50. At the end of the year, you've lost 20 pounds. You're like, okay, well, it's still something. Or if you had taken the slower route and actually not freaked your body out and you lost about 50 pounds or so, maybe even you only lost 40 pounds in the year. You would have been further along in the year if you had just stuck to the slow, steady route where you actually felt better throughout the year. Because when you do fast and hard, you're going to feel the brain fog. You're going to feel super hungry. You're going to feel ravenous. You're going to be moody, irritable. You're not going to want to have sex if you're someone that's still active. You're going to feel super weak in your workouts. It's going to be miserable. And then what happens from that miserable state sometimes is a rebound because you're coming out of such a poor state metabolically. Your body is like, okay, let's catch back up. Whereas if you do the slow route, you don't tend to feel quite that. You're going to feel some hunger. That's absolutely normal. But you shouldn't feel so terrible if you are taking it in a route that's sustainable. And to add to the sustainable, chat, when it comes to looking at the scale too, you guys, the scale will fluctuate. So if you're someone that is like weighing every week or something and you weigh on the same day, don't do that. That is probably, I mean, you can, but what I'm going to tell you is it may make you feel discouraged because you are not seeing all of the fluctuations that happen. If you weigh yourself every day, even without dieting, you're going to see you fluctuate. It's up, down, up, down, up, down. You're going to have a low end and a high end. And then you're going to take the average. The average is going to be what you kind of want to be sticking near. Same when you diet. If you go into a deficit, you're going to see fluctuations. It's going to go up probably higher than maybe what before you started the deficit. It'll drop down for a day. It'll go up. That's normal. That's your body doing its job. It's literally the metabolism fluctuating and shifting and adjusting things around to keep you alive. That's what it's doing. And so looking at what you weigh as like I guess a range, you could say plus or minus, I would even say 5 pounds. For some people it's a little bit more, so long as you're staying within that range and maybe the trend is gradually shifting down. That's perfect. That's what we're looking for. So instead of this in the fat loss, like seeing a linear change, it's going to look a lot like this, and it's going to be slow, but it's going to slowly make its way down. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. That's what normal, healthy, sustainable loss looks like. So, things that you can also do while you're in the sustainable, these are things that we would hone in on with clients. So, when you are taking the slower, sustainable route, you still need to make sure your body feels safe, right? Because you are dieting, you are sending a stimulus to it like, things are going to be out of whack. So we want to remove the extra stressors as much as we can in our life to make prolong this process, get us the most progress, the most results. Those things it's going to look like working on your sleep, trying to improve your sleep where you can get as much sleep as possible. No, but like 7 to 9 hours of sleep, usually improving the quality, working on that. I know for some people, they're in a season of life that's challenging, working on stress control. So things in your life that bring you stress, trying to remove what we can, or working on how we control our stressors, how we come down from those days that are absolutely insane and you come home and you're just like, mind is going. How do you decompress from that? Working on those coping mechanisms, how to bring that stress down, whether it's deep breathing, meditation, maybe you go for walks, maybe you're someone that does a good exercise session, whatever that looks like for you, right? And then, of course, just like any other stressors, manipulating exercise to our benefit. So there's different types of exercise that can raise, the stress hormones in our body. All exercise raises cortisol, it raises stress hormones. But if you are in a fat loss phase, doing really intense cardio, moderate intense, I should say, not super high intensity for short bursts is okay. That moderate intensity is going to be higher stress on the body. Probably don't want to do a whole lot of that while you're in a deficit. You want to kind of eliminate that, do lower intensity walking or strength training, and hit are kind of similar in the way they respond, your body responds. You have cortisol spikes, but then it drops in between the sets. So you actually get that rest time. You don't have that elevated cortisol for long periods of time. So you send less of a red alarm to your body, like less like, oh my gosh, we need to freak out. So many people go right to cardio when they're trying to lose weight. And I'm just like, oh, you're eating 1,200 calories, you're doing cardio, and your heart rate's like 160, 150 the entire time. Like you're sending all the signals to your body to hurry up and down regulate so that you plateau almost immediately and feel terrible. A lot of us were taught that way. This is what we were taught. This is the way we were taught to diet. So it's not necessarily, your fault. It is a society thing. It is a lack of knowledge for a long period of time that led us to this point. So yeah, so what do you guys think? Like, are you someone that looks for dopamine for progress? Are you relying on dopamine, I should say, to get you going and keep you going? And don't feel bad if the answer is yes, because guess what? Me too. We are all human. We all love what dopamine does to our bodies. For me, my dopamine drive has just a lot to do with new projects and food. Honestly, they are my big dopamine hits. So if I have a really exciting new goal, new project, or an exciting food that I want, those are the things that will make my dopamine spike. But learning to kind of pause and not rely on the dopamine as much has been really helpful for me. So that's where we work on the mindset and the being present, just being in the moment right now. What's the right word I'm trying to look for? It's not mindset. I think it's just mindfulness, being present in the moment. So stopping, taking deep breaths, pausing before I make decisions, especially around food or signing up for a new race or some new goal. Just really thinking about that moment, reflecting on it and how it could impact the future. I think that's important in all of our life, right? If we are currently in a state of like, I'm in a slump, I'm feeling like I'm not super excited about what I'm currently doing, I'm going to change it up. Maybe stop for a moment and think, am I still making progress? Like, am I actually still making slow, steady progress? And is the progress just not fast enough in my mind? Am I just wanting more, a faster, more exciting thing, a more sexy experience? Because if that's what you're looking for, you're probably going to end up crashing and burning, chasing the sexy, exciting route versus just sticking to the slow, steady, sustainable course that's providing slow, steady, sustainable results. I know it's not what anybody wants to hear, but honestly, you guys, if you follow any reputable trainers, coaches, anyone that's in the field, they're going to say the same thing. And a lot of people don't like to hear it because again, it's not exciting. It doesn't give us a dopamine response. But it's the truth. It's the truth, and it is honestly the thing that is going to get you down the road feeling really excited. So, as someone who's relied on dopamine for far too long, I can promise you that this slower, steady route that I've embarked on and stuck with for the last few years, while I've had my moments that have been frustrating and I'm like, I want to be here now, I also recognize I have never stayed this consistent in my own journey in like ever, 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 ever. I've never been this consistent without having a crazy extreme swing from, one approach to another. I've never. And I've never actually felt better physically than I have now. Now I've been through a lot like in life, like emotionally, mentally. But even then, I still think in those circumstances, I handled it a lot better than I would have in the past because I physiologically, physically feel better now because I have stopped sending so many red alarms to my body. So many like warning bells to my body of I need to conserve and protect myself to survive. So best diet for you guys is going to be slow, steady, and also something that you can sustainably stick with. If carnivore is your jam and you don't mind just munching on meat all day long, go for it. If you can do that at birthday parties and go out places and have no problem with it, go for it. But oftentimes, what is most sustainable for most people is figuring out how to choose foods that are most nutritious for them, but also allow themselves to have the things that they do really like to have on a typical day-to-day basis. And having them on a day-to-day basis, not only saving them for the weekends for cheat meals. Nope. That can sometimes create lots of issues with your mindset as well. Just being okay with like plugging those things in throughout your week and not having to worry about being super restrictive. So, all that to say, let's see. Do I have anything else I wanted to add to that? No, I think that's it. Any questions? Let me see if there's questions. I am on a different screen. Do, 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 do. Slow and steady, baby. Yeah, girl. Yeah, I went live at a weird time again. That's what I keep doing. So, if you guys have questions about that, what that looks like for you, let me know. But just as a reminder, 1,200 calories for, I would say, almost everybody that's an adult. That is absolutely just, it's not enough. I know what doctors have said forever and ever and ever. By the way, doctors, they get less of a nutrition education than myself, Tanya, and Tina did from our nutrition courses. Just an FYI. Like, we had more in depth nutritional education than a doctor gets in their programming. Dietitians, more old school dietitians are actually pretty strict when it comes to calories. They'll say 1,200 calories or less, but the dietitians that have been more recently, I would say, graduated and gone through schooling, they're definitely more on along the lines of we can't keep doing this. This is why society has so many health issues and challenges with dieting in general, is because we are pushing that limit way too low. So I know that's something that's still pushed out there. I highly recommend, instead of pushing the boundaries always, we learn the slow, steady and feel good in the process, live life in the process. I know you want to lose the weight, but why not wait a year, 2 years to like lose all of that weight that you're looking to lose, instead of doing this like big yo-yo swing over like 5 years if you ever get there, right? Um, to me, slow, steady, I've embraced it, and I've just seen it work so well for so many. One of our clients, Ashley, I shared her. I actually shared it on my story. I should share it in this group. She's one of ours that's done the slow and steady, and she's not. She said to me just the other day when I messaged her about this. She said, I sometimes feel like I should be further along. She's lost 70 pounds, mind you, 70 pounds. It's been just over 2 years that she's been with us, but mind you, in the 2 years she's been with us, she didn't diet for 2 years. We've gone through dieting phases, we've taken breaks, we've gone through holidays where we do not want people dieting unless it's 100% a push that they want. We usually give people the break during the holidays. She's had a lot of life stressors come up and happen, and she's never felt so awful in this process to where she's had major concerns like brain fog, super low energy. And she's had moments of that, but it's not been like, oh my goodness, how am I going to recover from this and keep going? She has maintained 70 pounds off and built a ton of muscle. So, what that tells me is she probably has actually lost 80, 90 pounds of fat, and she's built muscle on top of it because she's been at this for just over 2 years now. So, that's absolutely not something to look down on. That is incredible. Her body looks completely different than it did when she started with us. And she is doing it. She's embraced the slow steady. Does she feel frustrated sometimes? Yeah, we all do. It's just normal and human. But she knows that in the long run, pushing it any further might not be sustainable. And she's not the only one. I've actually had some clients recently go through some really hard life things, and they've said to me, I think I need to come out of a deficit because it's not the right time for my body. And voila, we do it. And guess what? They start to feel so good again. They have more energy, and they actually put forth more effort into their workouts, and they can sleep a little better, and they have better stress control. And when that happens, sometimes our body actually responds a little better, and we see more progress eating more calories. So, all this to say, I know that it's hard to convince you until you do it yourself, but there's enough proof out there and enough coaches and people doing this saying the same thing. One day this is going to catch steam, and one day you too are going to give it a go, and you're going to realize you're going to come to the light. It's going to come to you and you're going to go, oh, it makes so much sense for me. So anyways, I hope sooner rather than later you figure that out. If you aren't sure like where you should be at with eating, just message us and ask us. Again, I try to preach to people, we are not scary. Don't be like nervous to talk to us. I think people are nervous to like reach out and say anything. I'm a human. I'm like, I make mistakes all the time. I'm goofy. I'm not judging you for any questions you have because they are not silly or stupid. I'm always open and honest and here for you if you guys need it. So don't hesitate. Reach out to myself or Tanya or Tina. And yeah, we'd love to help you. So, anyways, best diet, you guys, slow, steady, whatever diet works well for you. It doesn't really matter too much so long as you're in a calorie deficit of some sort if you're dieting, but slow and steady, not extreme calories, not 1,200 or less or 1,000 calories or less, because that's just going to burn you out. So, love you guys. I want you to take care of your health and feel good in the process. Hope you have a great Friday.